Real quick before I jump into the story, I want to answer a question that came up since last week's big episode on the portfolio waterfall. The question was, do I now agree with Dave Ramsey when it comes to safe withdrawal rates after covering the portfolio waterfall? And the simple answer is no, I don't. I still think that Dave Ramsey's rhetoric is inappropriate because it does not depend upon a given strategy that can help solidify and secure the safety of a given safe withdrawal rate. In fact, before the phone call that I made in November, Dave would be known to say up to 10%. We've talked about it on the show before. I couldn't find that the portfolio waterfall would permit that much. They don't advertise on their website that they can get you up to 10%. Dave Ramsey says that's quite possible. Goodness, with traditional rebalancing means there might be a couple years where 8% could get you through 20 years, but it's a very rare instance when you look through the actual historical data. So no, I don't agree with Dave Ramsey. I still think what he's putting out there can be dangerous to his listeners. However, I think there are strategies out there that have been developed that can be successful in mitigating sequence of returns risk better than those from 30 years ago. And the portfolio waterfall, in my opinion, is the best one that I've seen so far for mitigating sequence of returns risk without simply reducing your safe withdrawal rate in order to fight a poor market. Now, with that said, let's jump into the main point of today's episode, utility bills. Back when I lived in Utah, I owned a condo on the third floor. It was the top unit, so I had 2 units below me. This was really nice during the winter because the units below me were paying for their heating, and that heating was rising through the floor to us, so our gas bill was really small compared to owning a home of equal size. My water bill in Utah was wrapped in with the HOA fees, and that's not the case here in Kansas City. Here I get a separate bill. I have a lot to say about my water bill, but we'll leave that for a future episode. Speaking of moving to Kansas City, there was a massive increase in my bills going from the condo to a house, and I want to share with you how much of a shock it was as I was upgrading my housing situation. For my electric bill, the last full year that I lived in Utah, the maximum that I saw was $159, the low was $37, and the average that we were paying for electricity was $65 per month. And our gas bills in the condo were, again, relatively low because we were on the third floor. The high was $48 a month. That's what we were paying in the winter. The low was $14 a month. That was basically just the hot water heater. And our average was $25 a month. Gas heating was very affordable. Now let's compare this to after I moved into a house. The high that I saw right away was $207 for my electric bill. The low was $55 and the average was $100 per month, $45 more compared to when I lived in the condo. Gas is what really got me the most shocked. My high gas bill moving into a house was $311 for heating. $311. The low was $40. That's close to the high that I had in Utah, and the average was $130. That average is more than 5 times what I was used to paying for gas in Utah. For those of you who can see the video component, I'm going to basically share some graphs of how my utility bills vary month to month. This first one covers my gas bill, and you can see that in December, I had $198 to pay for heating. This I found shocking, but it's nothing compared to the $311 that we had to pay in January. The problem here was that our furnace was older than the house. My home was built in the 1990s, and the furnace, I believe, had a date on the nameplate of 1989, 1988. It was an old furnace. It's inefficient, and it definitely needed replaced. Additionally, heating a home that was more than double the size of the condo we had in Utah, where we were basically coasting on our downstairs neighbor's heating, resulted in a major change for us. This next graph is the first 12 months after we moved to Kansas City for the electric bill. You can see they have a nice purple line that shows how the weather varied. I think it's an average temperature as opposed to a high. It's different than the one on my gas bill. But my very first electric bill was well over $300. And just in case a little bit of July got worked into the August bill, making it look a little bit bigger, this September bill was still over $200. But something changed moving into 2023. And that's where we're going to start today's main topic.